scheme of the lab, if you go and kind of go to this kind of like Sentinel-1, for example, okay, so you can see that, okay, just like random one, if you see, like it says Windows, then it says Ramnex, okay. So now you know, okay, how the settings will look like in an overview, like Windows 7, Ramnex, and then the internet. And there are like multiple tools that you need to kind of get activated to, like how to utilize those tools in a much better way to analyze kind of malware. Okay, so I hope this answers your question.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so now let me quickly go to the next thing. So before I proceed with the thing that I was discussing, I think it was related to the SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. That is one thing I like to say is that, guys, any kind of like threat email analysis engine is actually very, very, very easy to kind of bypass. Okay, I used to do that. One of the easiest way, like the Proofpoint, for example, it is a very famous software, but it is really easy to kind of evade that. The reason is that most of the time, the settings of the Proofpoint is such that if there's any kind of URL, that the Proofpoint would like to kind of see, like, okay, let's say if it is malicious or not, and let's say that URL has some kind of captcha in it, okay, like which detects like if they're human or not. Okay, so what happened in most of the scenario, the Proofpoint, when it will visit this website, what it will do is that it will not be worried about if there's any captcha or not. It will not check like if there's any captcha at all. Okay, it will just do one thing. It will just visit the URL, and then it will see like, okay, if it is having some kind of phishing content or if it is downloading any malware. That's all, nothing else. So if like I being an attacker, what I will do is that I will make a URL. Okay, I will put up a captcha over there, and then once this captcha has been successfully filled by the client, then only the user will visit, or then only the malware will get downloaded. Okay, so in like if you encounter clients, like let's say 100 clients using 100, all clients using the Proofpoint, so mostly in 95% of cases you will see that the Proofpoint is just written URL, and it is not worried about if captcha is there or not, and it is actually telling that, okay, the URL is not malicious. Okay, not malicious. So this is a very easy way to kind of evade the Proofpoint. All you need to do is that attacker put up a captcha, and you can kind of quickly evade any kind of detection from there. Okay, so I hope this was kind of good to know for you guys that Proofpoint is not 100% foolproof, and there are a lot of things by which you can evade the detection. Okay, so that's all for this. I hope that I answered your question, and now I wanted to kind of quickly come back to the SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, and what all these things mean by the one that I showcased in the email header, the SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. Okay, so let's quickly go through that and quickly knock that out one by one. Okay, so let me just go to that SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. So let me just quickly go to my notes and let's see what all things I have planned to discuss for this SPF. So just give me a few seconds, guys. Okay, so what I mean is that, let's say SPF, the full form of this is Sender Policy Framework. Okay, and what this does is that it's a type of email authentication that actually is utilized to protect you from email spoofing. Okay, so you already know what email spoofing is, where any one attacker can kind of send out a fake, they can kind of change the from field to a valid email ID, and they can and you can once you receive that email, you will think that, okay, you are receiving that email from a valid sender, but that's not the case. The email has been kind of spoofed. The from address, let's say, has been changed is kind of fake one. It is not coming from, let's say, someone like from your own company, but someone from someone else. So how this thing work is that so give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Just close the door. Okay, so what it does is that, let's say you got an email from john@company.com. So what the MTA will do is that it will actually check the DNS record of company.com. Okay, and let's say this will have the IP address. This will have the MX record. This DNS record will have the MX record. And in that MX record will have the IP address, the authorized IP address of your MTA, the last MTA, right? So thing is that if you get a spoofed email, thing is that the IP from where this is coming, from where this email is coming. So let's say this IP address, for example, will not be kind of a valid one. So let's say I am an attacker. What I did is I framed a spoofed email where I gave the from address as this one, Ramesh Kumar, something like that. So my IP address that will be showcasing over here will not be of the actual MTA that is kind of allocated to your domain, which is like let's say there was an IP address for in the MS record. So there will be a difference in the IP record. Okay, so that is kind of an easy check to kind of know that if the email is coming from an authorized mail server. Okay, so this is a way by which mail server check if the email received is from an authorized MTA servers. Okay, and if it is not, it actually has certain fields by which it tells that, okay, if SPF has passed or SPF has failed. So thing is that I'll be kind of going through that in much more detail, what I mean by the SPF and what those fields are. Before that, do you guys have any question? Okay, if not, so let's quickly first understand what's DKIM at a very high level, and then we'll kind of go through that in a much more deeper way. Okay, so let me just give me 1 second. The DKIM. So DKIM is again actually another way to kind of detect if the email is kind of coming from a valid sender or not. Okay, and let me just for DKIM. And DKIM stands for domain keys identified email. Okay, the one that we are seeing over here, which says DKIM equal to pass. That means the DKIM check was done. So when an email is sent, DKIM allows the sender domain actually to digitally sign the message, okay, using a private key. And this signature is then actually included in the email header. Okay, so now if I see over here, if I go over here and go to the MX toolbox, so let me do one thing. Let me just quickly copy this out and let's load this up. So this is the one that we have already seen, and then if you see message signature, right, over here. Okay, so this is actually compromised of the signature value. So if you recall, when we were discussing about the HTTPS traffic, over here, so if I just go to this one, yeah, we discuss about the certificate part, right? We discuss about certificate part which tells the client that the public key is actually coming from a valid web server, right? So in a similar fashion, the same certificate concept is also applied to the email headers. Okay, so what we are seeing over here is